Hey, everybody. I just want to add some very quick context. I know that I wanted to upload this around the time that the game came out, but things were just a little bit busy in my life and I got occupied with other things. So it's coming out now. Don't worry. You're going to be listening to it. But before you get to listen to me and Isaac talking about this game, first things first, we did record kind of an episode that was about Federation Force, but since neither of us finished the game, we didn't really talk too in depth about it, and we spent most of the episode just kind of talking about our thoughts and feelings of Prime 4 before it came out. Second thing, this was recorded very soon after completing the game. I want to say maybe like a day or two after me and Isaac completed the game. No, I'm not saying that my opinion has completely flipped and I'm, like, oh, fuck this game, it's garbage or whatever. But obviously, over time, it's been almost a month, and my opinion has become more developed, I would say. There are things that I, like more about the game, but there's a lot of things that I like a lot less about the game. And there's a lot of design decisions that I was, like, confused about or kind of annoyed by that I'm more accepting of. And then there's some things that bothered me, even more on repeat playthroughs. And I have beaten this game 4 times so far, including once on hard mode. So I do plan on doing a scripted video at some point talking about my feelings about Metroid Prime 4 and just kind of going over in detail, like, just the whole thing with me in this game. But I just want to say that this is a nice, like, screenshot of that moment right after the game came out, and I still mostly agree with that version of Wyatt. But if a video comes out later and there's some things that are different from that is why. Obviously this is a kind of a divisive game, and I've tried not to look at anybody's reviews or opinions on it before going into making my own video. So just because I don't want to take anybody's points, I want to have my own points and takes and everything. So, all right, just wanted to lay that out right at the beginning of this. Go ahead and listen to us talk about Metroid Prime 4. Just another Metroid Monday on this final, for now, episode of Hunters in Prime. I'm Wyatt, and who is here with me today, as always?
It's annoying side character Isaac.
Right.
Jar Jar
Isaac
Binks
McKenzie.
like.
Yeah, with your mechanic goggles on and everything. We are here to talk about the newest, hottest entry in the Metroid Prime series, and the Metroid series overall. It just came out a few days ago. We just beat it. We're talking about Metroid Prime 4. And I just want to say up top, for anybody listening to this that just wants to get general opinions, I'm sorry. We are going to be spoiling the shit out of this game because I want to talk about all of the elements. So, similar to like a podcast I did on my main Patreon, It's Only Magic, with Bonanza, where we just like got into the business and talked about all of that stuff. But yeah, so we are going to be talking about Metroid Prime 4. The day is here. Truly can't believe it that it has come and gone. Like, now I have to reckon with the fact that, like, it's been out for a couple days now, for 4 days. I have been playing this game and beat it and then replayed it and started a hard mode file and got to Volt Forge and got my ass kicked and was like, all right, maybe we can do a hard mode file a different time, or maybe I can take it slow with this. But Isaac, I want to ask you,
Yes.
right at the top of this, first impression, how did you feel about this game?
Let's just be blunt. I fucking love this game. I do not think I like it more than Prime 1 or 2. I think that would be absurd to think it would go on that level. But
Okay.
I think, for reasons I'll get to, this may be some of the slickest Prime has felt. This is some of the highlights in this game are some of the highlights of any game I've played all decade. It is
Yeah.
just a wonderful experience. And may I say, worth the wait? No, I don't know. It's hard to say a game is worth an 18-year-long wait, but 7 years?
Right.
I mean,
that is true.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like, if you're counting the wait from Fusion to Dread, that is also an extremely long wait. That was like 19 years.
Yeah.
And, I have my issues with Dread as far as, like, being a conclusion to a series. Like, I felt like Fusion was way better of a conclusion if they were gonna, like, go to a different part of the story, whereas, like, Dread was like, oh, anyway, here's this bunch of stuff. It introduces a bunch of cool new stuff and then concludes it all within the same game. So it feels like a weird, like, it feels like a Dragon Ball Z movie or something that takes place, like, after the show, where it's like, okay, it's cool to see all the characters again, but it wasn't, like, why did we need, this stuff? Then again, Dread, amazing game. Not gonna, sugarcoat it. It is a fucking incredible game, so that is not to say that it's disappointing or not worthy of the Metroid 5, but it does feel like this game, it definitely feels like the start of a new era of Metroid Prime. And I think my impression after beating it, we'll go through kind of our feelings on the game, like, as we talk about, like, the different areas in everything. But, like, I mean, at first I was in disbelief that I was playing Metroid Prime 4. And no matter how many times I watched the treehouse footage of that first area, it still was like, I can't believe I'm playing it. It's here. It's in my living room. I'm playing it. It's in 4K. I do not have a 120 hertz TV, so I can't use the 120 mode unless I'm playing it handheld. So 60, just fine. And god fucking damn, does this game look gorgeous. But
I'm in shock how good they got it to go. Like, my god.
Yeah. Like, people were not joking when they said it looks as good as some, like, current gen games. It definitely looks better than pretty much. I think the only Switch game you could maybe say, like, looks on an equal level to it is Luigi's Mansion 3. But that's a different art style, so it's kind of hard to make that 100% comparison. But just because, like, how detailed the animation is in Luigi's Mansion 3 and things like that.
And you're talking about Switch 1, right?
Switch 1, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, this is a Switch 1 game. It's just...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But as far as Switch 2 games go, I do think it's pretty much better than even Bonanza and Mario Kart World.
Yeah.
And maybe Air Riders is, like, on an equal level to it again and has, like, style, but I haven't played Air Riders yet.
Air Riders looks great, but I think Air Riders looks very good and runs great, but it's also like racing games are kind of a cheat code because they can just put in as much graphics as they can within these closed circuits and stuff. While Metroid is a full-on, like, big open experience.
Yes.
So
and I would say by the time that I got to, like, I was, like, in kind of this disbelief. I was in a little bit of this, like, wow, this is incredible. But then as soon as I got to Volt Forge, I was like, why was I ever worried about this game? Because it's so good. And then it just, like, every area I just, I won't say like I enjoyed it more and more than the last, but I like enjoyed it as much. Like, Ice Belt was, an incredible experience with the very Resident Evil style design, and then the flare pool with its like mix of regular. It had like a lot going on there, and narratively too, with Duke and Armstrong, and then the mines was just like a great like final area.
Yeah.
A worthy successor to Phazon Mines as far as like you keep going deeper and deeper, and it gets more horrifying the deeper you go. But yeah, so I think too, if I were to rank the Prime games, definitely this would be above 3, but below 1 and 2. I think with a few tweaks, this could have been, in my ranking, it would be like 1 is at the top, 2, then 3, and then like 4 is above 3. With a few tweaks, I think that it could be like on the same level of Fusion or Echoes. Like, I think on that, like, not up there with Super and Prime, which are the untouchable classics, but still up there in the like the alternative kids club.
Yeah.
There's like, I do have my fair share of problems with the game, but nothing to really like nothing significantly negative that like drags the game down.
Yeah.
I think it's not like Prime 3 where it was like where we went into the podcast and I was like, oh yeah, I love Prime 3, and then we were just like shitting on it the whole time.
Yeah. I kind of feel bad for how he did it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a great game. I mean, one thing that I remembered, like, oh, I didn't get to talk about this very positive thing about Prime 3 that I can shout out now, is that game actually did also have, like, there were moments of really great atmosphere. We've talked about it in the pirate homeworld that it feels very dangerous, but even something like there's that pirate lab that's at the back of Skytown with all the Metroids.
Yeah.
And like going in and like grabbing the energy cell, and then like all the barriers come down and all the Metroids are like floating through the walls. That is an extremely tense moment.
That's a really good
like
sequence, yeah.
Very memorable. And I think like this game feels a lot like a sequel to Prime 3. Specifically, it doesn't feel like a soft reboot or anything. It feels like it's picking up right where it left off, but it's doing a lot of work to correct a lot of the mistakes that Prime 3 made. And I think from that context, I don't feel, like I can complain about the fact that it's like, oh, why aren't the levels interconnected, or why aren't, whatever. Those complaints kind of go to the wayside because I'm looking at it through the angle of being like, oh, how does this improve upon what Prime 3 brought to the table? And I just see like across the board improvements. Even like the music, holy shit. The music in this game. Yeah.
So, some of the parts of this game that are just like absolutely just highlights are exemplified even more by maybe the series' best soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's up there. Like the only one I can think of that I like more is maybe 2. Prime 2 is just my favorite one. But
I can see that.
Prime 4, like Prime 2 is my favorite game, period, in the series. But 4, I think, may have a just as good, if not better, soundtrack. And specifically with some of the like areas in the middle of the game, like Volt Forge and Ice Path. God damn, dude.
Yeah, very good. And then like all the boss themes are great, and even like just starting off, like I knew that this game was gonna cook in that very first trailer. When we saw the intro area and that glimpse of Fury Green, and we heard like 15 seconds of the music for the theme of that area, and I was like, Prime is back, baby. This is this is Metroid Prime because it feels so much like the Fury Green. Its theme, it reminds me a lot of like Torvus Bog and Talon Overworld and things like that. Like it feels like it fits into that vibe exactly of like the luscious forested area that they were going for. Taking a sip of water. But do we want to talk about like the levels, like kind of in order, or do you want to talk about like some of the mechanics, like new and old?
I think we'll end up talking about the mechanics within the levels, so let's just go in order, and stuff like that. Kind of just crawl through the game.
Yeah, that because I have a lot to say.
Yes.
So the first area, it is, it's taking the idea of like the action-packed start of the game from Prime 3, but radically condensing it down into like the area from Prime 1.
Yeah.
Where it's very interesting how this game does this tutorial, because also there's a little bit of the Prime 2 tutorial in it, but in the next area. But this first area where you're on the research base on this like Federation controlled planet, and the pirates are coming down, and there's like a remix of the Space Pirate Battle theme playing the whole time, and you're like guys are getting into their like Federation Force mechas and shooting ships down and everything.
That intro cutscene is so fucking sick. It's so dope. Just seeing all this fucking shit happen, it really gets you immediately in the mood to be like, oh, shit's going down.
It makes me be like, man, like I wish that Prime again. I kind of wish Prime 3 just immediately started on Norian.
Yeah,
and you didn't have to go through the like. It's not like there's nothing of value in the like GFS Olympus section of the game, and the Berserker Lord is like a fun boss fight and everything, but like just how like punchy and action packed, boom, like going down there. Like this game, like it kind of gets the message. It doesn't fuck around too much with that, and you just like you go through some enemy encounters. You get used to like the combat. I don't know about you, but I fumbled with the controls for quite a bit because I'm so used to the Prime remastered controls that things like the scan being on X was like weird to me. I kept on like trying to fire a missile or do something like turn to the morph ball and kept on turning on the scan visor.
I fiddled with that a lot. I had the same thing. But for me, it was exponented because when the game starts, you are given two choices between controls, the standard dual stick and the gyro mode. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start with the gyro mode and play like the Wii controls. I love those controls. And I guess it not only did like the morph ball and specifically the scan visor button kind of throw me off, it was also that because you don't have a sensor bar anymore, you don't have a central place to where your cursor goes. So if I go to scratch my head or something while a cutscene's going on, and then the cutscene comes back in, the center of the screen is now on where my head was. So it like the cursor would kind of freak out. Thankfully, there is still a reset button, but I was like, whoa. I eventually just went with the standard controls with the Pro Controller and all that, but I definitely had to get used to the controls a little bit. Though, saying that, the controls are amazing for the most part. Like, I think this game controls so smooth and so just well. And I love especially how they retooled the locking mechanic, where you can now dodge in all four directions. I found so much use in dodging back.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Especially, there's, one of the boss in Volt Forge, I feel like, really got me used to the new dodge. Yeah. And like being able to like dodge backwards and things like that. And in general, like this game kind of asks you to engage with the combat mechanics and even things like the gyro aiming a lot more than previous games did. It definitely feels like it's taking the more action-oriented design of Prime 3 and sort of expanding on that, while still incorporating, you know, the normal Metroid-ness that we come to love and expect. And that first boss, Abarax, is a pretty good... It's a good evolution of the Berserker Lord, where you have a big space pirate guy, and he has points of weakness on his body, and you gotta shoot it, this time just using the gyro aim rather than with the pointer or mouse controls, which I did not use, by the way. So I was so sucked into the game that I forgot for months. People were like, dude, this is the mouse control game. You know, you get to finally... So maybe when I get back to playing, because I'm on a second playthrough on normal, just got to the ice belt, and maybe I'll use the mouse controls. Maybe I'll bring my mouse pad in from the office, put it on my couch, you know, and use it that way. So
yeah, I fiddle with the mouse controls a little bit, and they actually work really fucking well. I love how it's you don't like pretty much every other mouse control game on Switch 2, like Cyberpunk and stuff like that. You have to basically go. The only you have to go into the menu to turn it on. As far as I can tell, the only games where you just turn it over and it immediately comes on is Prime 4 and Kunitsugami. And both games, it's like, hell yeah. It's nice to be able to just decide, you know what, no, I want to do this shit. The issue is that I didn't use the mouse controls super often because I don't have the best way to use mouse controls. I tried on my leg, didn't really work out. I have this like cardboard box near here that can be tall enough to make a mouse pad. That didn't really work out, so I just didn't use it much. But I could totally see people going like, this is the way to play it, because it is very fun to do it like that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, because I have a good setup where I have an armchair and then I have a couch right next to it in my living room. In the couch and the armchair, you know, the arms of them are flat. They're at the same elevation. So there's a nice wide berth of, you know, usually if I'm like eating a bowl of chips or I have like a plate with a sandwich on it, that's where it goes.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can put a mouse pad there and then, you know, use it in mouse mode just to check it out. Should I have done this as due diligence for this podcast? Shut up. But how do you feel about? I know you played the demo before, so you already got to experience this boss fight. But how do you feel about it in the context of the full game?
I think it's a really cool first fight. I think it does what I think a good first fight does, which just helps you get more used to the new mechanics. Like the game, because the hit points, like the hit points you want to hit aren't right where the lock on is. You have to use like the gyro aiming stuff like that to like fine aim to hit the spots. You also have to use the dodging a lot. It was also why I found out, oh my god, this game has like mashing quick time events. So I was like, what the fuck? Like Resident Evil 4. Yeah. But I think it's actually a really good first fight. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
A lot of Resident Evil 4 DNA in
this
game.
For sure.
There's literally Delago as a boss, you know, later in the game. Like, there's where I was like, I can't believe that I'm playing Resident Evil 4 right now. And you know,
for context, Resident Evil 4 is my favorite game of all time. Yeah. So I'm already feasting like it's Thanksgiving too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting DNA in this game. There's a lot of interesting things to talk about as far as like the fact that this game is a sequel to a Wii game, so it has a lot of like, you know, DNA of like a past time in it.
Or Wii NA.
Get some Wii NA in it. But it also is a game that started development very early into the Switch's life and then didn't come out until basically the Switch is dead. I think there's only like 2 more Switch games, big like first party ones coming out, and that's, you know, Tomodachi Life and Rhythm Heaven.
Yeah.
And I trust that Rhythm Heaven is going to be peak, by the way. I fucking love Rhythm Heaven.
Oh yeah. Can't
Good
wait.
Shit. Yeah. If you have the one on the Wii, that's probably the best one. If you don't, I'm sorry.
I don't have it.
Stupidly expensive.
I missed
it's like
out.
$200 at this point. So
absurd.
You know. Yeah, so maybe get it as some trade-in credit at your local game store or something, but don't buy it on eBay. But yeah, so I agree with you with the boss. Like, it was a great, a first, like, okay, showcase of the controls. Like, if I had any issue with it compared to the first bosses of like Prime 1 and 2, is that those go down pretty quick. They teach you the mechanics, but they are like pretty easy. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
Abarax feels like it is about the same length as the later boss fights, and that's a good thing in some case. Because like, oh, this is a worthy challenge. It's not just a shitty tutorial boss, but it also is like a little bit frustrating, playing it and being like, having a little bit of trouble against like the first boss. There's
Yeah.
like a little bit of that like cognitive dissonance of like, I should be rolling this guy, but I have to learn the controls now. On a repeat playthrough, when you know exactly what to do, when you come up again, spoilers, by the way, just in case anybody's still around,
Yeah.
and we're talking about relatively not spoiler things. About to say a big spoiler here. The final boss with Silex requires you to understand that
Yeah.
goddamn gyro aim. So, like, by the time that you come back and do a replay of Abarax, it's like, all right, whatever, I can
It's
kick this
simple
guy's
shit.
ass
Yeah.
pretty quick. But I just thought like that first time I was like, whew, why is this taking so long for me to beat this guy? And then like when I played it, I started a hard mode playthrough. Even then I was like, oh man, he's still kind of kicking my ass. And
Yeah,
then
he ain't no slouch.
yeah, but the game has kind of, that's its like soft tutorial, or maybe it's like that's the hard tutorial, and then the next part is like a soft tutorial where it's in the meat of the game, but it has like some tutorial stuff going on where you start in the Chrono Tower, which, by the way, let me tell you, every fucking buddy was theorizing that this game was going to have like time travel, or like going between multiple timelines and all this stuff. And when they heard that one of the areas was Chrono Tower, everyone's like, it's gonna happen. So it's just very funny. I can't even be like that mad. Like, I can't dock the game a point for not having
Yeah.
that in it. But it's just like very funny how sure everybody was
I
about there
was
being
too.
like time travel and everything, and then like that just didn't end up being the case. Again, like, I think it's kind of unfair to dock the game for something that they never
Yeah.
promised. It's just people speculating based off literally a 10-year-old interview with Kensuke Tanabe where he said, yeah, that would be cool if we did that in Prime 4. Um, and I guess they did. Maybe Prime 5? Always
That'd be
option.
cool. Yeah, but
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, I mean, I actually don't think we're going to have to wait that long for Prime 5. Kind of like Pikmin 5. Like, I don't think we're going to wait like 10 years between Pikmin 4 and Pikmin 5 or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I think they've set up a pipeline for, like, okay, this is what the series is going to be. And I actually do think that in general, kind of one of the thesis statements that I can give about this game on the topic of Pikmin 4 is that this is kind of like the Pikmin 4 for this franchise in a way, in that there is some new additions to it to like move the series forward, but rub a lot of old school fans the wrong way. Um, Most of the complaints that I see are from people that are, huge fans of Prime 1 and want the game to be exactly like Prime 1. They would have been just totally fine if the game was just another, like, 5 to 10 hour experience, Prime 1, that kind of level design and everything like that. And don't get me wrong, I too would have loved that. But, like, I also like to appreciate games based on what they are, not on what my
Yeah.
expectations of what they should be are, which is why I ended up loving Pikmin 4, even though I grew very attached to that a bird's eye view formula and the like all the mechanics that were developed throughout Pikmin 1, 2, and 3 that were kind of like shifted in Pikmin 4. Pikmin 4 actually ended up being my favorite of that series.
Oh shit.
And I
I
think
did not
that,
know that.
yeah, I think that, I mean, Pikmin 4 was my favorite game of that year, even
Yeah,
over
I did
Tears
know
of the
that. Yeah,
Kingdom and Mario Bros. Wonder, which are both excellent games, by the way. It's just,
wonderful. Yeah.
yeah, Pikmin 4 just like it hit right. Kind of similarly, this game, like, it's the start of winter. I took a week off. I'm playing it. I'm warm at home in my living room. It's a very cozy game, despite the horrible nightmares that are
Yeah.
to await within it. So
Metroid always has, because you kind of get sucked into its world so easy, especially with the Prime games, how the HUD is designed. It's cozy because you are just in this world. You're in just like a
yeah,
different zone, so you kind of don't think about what's happening around you.
yeah. So Fury Green, that's like the first like real soft tutorial area after you get your psychic powers and everything, and that is very much like the Prime 2 style tutorial where it's okay, you're going through an area, it's like kind of like lonely and like there's ambience, there's eeriness to it, but there's still like beauty in a way. Prime 2 starts with going into that Federation compound that's been overrun by the splinters,
Hmm.
and then you come out of it into the temple grounds and you see sort of this mountainy area with the big tower temple up into the distance, and that has this like majestic quality to it. So I feel like Fairy Green, very much the same. You come through this forest, you come to a big clearing, you see this gigantic world tree, and you hear the most beautiful music you've ever heard in your entire life.
God, dude,
Um,
the music, man.
yeah. And just from this point on, I was like scanning and reading like every little thing, and it's just so good to read the amount of like attention to detail that they put into every log entry for all the animals is just so cool. Um, I always appreciate that. I know it's probably boring to a lot of people. Uh, Maybe it feels a little bit artificial world building wise because it's like, oh, what does this bird actually have anything to do? But that's why it's good. It's this discrete level of, this thing doesn't matter to the overall game on a plot level or anything like that, but it just informs the environment that you're in. Um, and very quickly, you get a few powers. You go through like a dark forest area, and you meet Lucifer himself, the devil, the one guy that everybody was the most pissed off about before this game came out. That is the mechanic Miles McKenzie, um, who is
Fucking
not
Hitler
bad
Jr.
at all.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah. So like I mentioned on our Federation Force video, where we barely talked about Federation Force.
Right? Yeah.
I mentioned that I didn't watch basically anything from that most recent trailer or the previews where Miles McKenzie was ripped to shreds, where
Yeah.
you'd see people comparing to Jar Jar Banks and shit like that. And so I kind of went into him completely blind, knowing he was there, but that was it. He's fine. Like,
Yeah.
like, I'll say this. Again, I don't want to keep dogging on Prime 3. I'm sorry,
Right.
Prime 3.
Yeah. Sure.
I remember much more about Miles and then the subsequent people we meet than I do about the fucking bounty hunters of
Right. Yeah.
from corruption.
They're cool character designs and boss fights. But as far as people, the only things I remember from each of they all have like one moment I remember, basically. Like Gandrada has like, oh, she calls Samus Sammy. That's kind of cute. Rundis has the truth and justice will prevail, right, guys?
Yeah.
Moment when you're on the elevator going up. I always thought that was cute. And then Gore, I mentioned this in the Prime 3 video, that he has that moment where he beats up the Berserker Lord and then he gets out of the robot and like caresses it. So he has like he's treating it like a horse, basically, his mecha power suit. I just think that is a cool little bit of characterization. But overall, like, yeah, I think now that we've gotten to the point where Mackenzie is in it, him and the other troopers that show up are given so much more characterization, even just on the critical path of the game, to say nothing of the optional interactions that you have. Stuff like finding Tokabi in the desert, and having chats with him about like his life and his religion and everything, which I was like, man, I can't believe that this isn't a Nintendo game. That a guy is talking about like religious faith in this game, and even just going and seeing like the interactions of Mackenzie's like fixing the sniper lens for Tokabi, or like fixing the broken arm on View, and just seeing just all the characters, like the camp slowly grow up, and like all the characters hanging out and chatting together. It makes the end game of the game feel very like especially comfy, because you've gathered this whole group of friends together. And just starting off, like going back to Mackenzie real quick, like here's the thing. It's not that I don't understand why people find him annoying, because he is like a dweeby guy that's thrust into this life or death situation. And he's like, the first scene we see him in is making a kind of like dark humor joke about the fact that he's like, well, I'm going to die, but at least I'm not working my shitty office job, like, and people, especially when that first preview came out that showed the Fury Green section of the game, I saw a lot of frankly psychotic takes about people treating Metroid Prime as if it's like this fucking brutalist art, that it's like a Lars von Trier film or something, and that it's like the most dark, the saddest, the most serious Nintendo thing. So any type of humor just annihilates all the atmosphere, and in fact ruins the entire game because any humor exists at all. And I think this is a pretty easy complaint to dismiss, because the Prime series has had humor in it throughout the whole thing. And there's an inherent camp value to Metroid in general, but especially like reading through pirate logs and seeing all of their stupid self-destructive experiments that they perform on each other or animals or whatever. Prime 2 has a lot of like funny scan logs, in the pirate base in Aegon Waste, including the famous one about like, don't feed regular food, do not feed your rations to Metroids, they can't digest it. I know that you treat them as pets, but just stop it, they're for energy consumption. It's like, that's funny,
It's actually just insane to me that how much people. I'm gonna say this, and correct me if I'm wrong, right? Because I haven't played the 2D games yet. Wink, wink. It comes off as if everyone thinks every Metroid game is like Dread or Fusion, and it's like, and also that like, I think people just have people just want to take it as if the worst thing is happening. Like, I'll admit, whenever I heard there were other characters, the immediate game that comes to mind whenever I think of like partner characters and stuff like that can annoy a character, that can annoy the player, is Ragnarok. God of War Ragnarok. I think that is a good game, a very good game, but I will say I'm not happy. Even something like God of War, where puzzles aren't a very big thing and puzzles are baby easy, having someone like Atreus constantly tell you, hey, here's how you do the puzzle, dimwit.
I think you should throw it here. Like,
exactly.
Didn't you see that thing over here? I think you should throw it there.
But I knew that Retro, for their fourth game, would have the sense not to do that. And guess what? They don't. And I genuinely think, especially with Miles, but across the game, if you take everyone's dialogue and put it together in one long file, it's maybe like 50 minutes of dialogue. It's like, for like a game that took me like 9-10 hours to finish, Like, come on, dude.
It's a pretty small portion of the game, and I think like any frustration I have as far as like there being too handholdy doesn't come from the level design or from a character tagging along and saying, shouldn't you do this thing? Because I truly did see when the preview came out, people were comparing, because if you pass by the save station in Fury Green with Mackenzie without using it, he will say, hey, shouldn't you check out that room? People compare that to, the Atreus puzzle situation.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not a fucking puzzle. He's just saying use the save room because if you haven't used it before, then you'll die and then you'll have to start over. This game actually doesn't have that many autosave checkpoints, which I appreciate. I feel like Dread, as hard as it is, had way too many checkpoints so that you could kind of just like bust your way through the game. I appreciate having more of a consequence for failure in this compared to a lot of modern Nintendo games.
Yeah.
I guess like the difficulty hasn't reared its head yet as far as what we're talking about, but like this I think is the hardest Metroid Prime game, except like maybe Prime 2 is harder, because I do see people that say like, oh, this is the hardest Metroid game, this is one of the hardest Nintendo games, etc. But I played the game so much that I'm just so familiar with it that I don't really have trouble with it anymore. Even on hard mode, it only took me a few tries to beat the final boss. Compare that to like when I played Dread, it took me maybe an hour or two of attempts to beat the final boss of that game, because it is just kicking your ass super hard, and it's a multi-phase, very long fight. But in this game, like, there were random mob encounters, especially in Volt Forge. Like, that was really where the difficulty spiked, and I just died a couple times. There's like a section where you have to like do a mini boss. You fight like a bunch of enemies, you do a mini boss, and then you go back up the tower, and then you encounter Silex for the first time, and that entire thing it was just brutal. I was just like, God damn, they demand a lot of you from this game.
And I think that's the thing, is that I think it kind of evens out. Where Prime 2, I think, might be a bit harder for me, but I think that's just because some of the sections in that game are just, frankly, kind of annoying.
I do think the game starts, it like gets a bit easier.
Yes.
After the first area is pretty rough because you don't have the dark suit, so you take a ridiculous amount of damage, like standing in the dark world. So it's very like hostile at the start, and it gets more comfortable as it goes.
I will say, I think it was very smart to make Prime 4 a pretty tough game, especially after Prime 3 being pretty fucking easy. And I think it's especially smart, too, because this is the most free controlling Prime game. Like, it doesn't have the tank controls from Prime 1 and 2. You're not really limited by your controls anymore. So making the encounters harder is just smart balancing. And, yeah, so I do think, piece by piece, I think in at least in certain areas, this may be, I would probably say, the hardest Metroid Prime game. Yeah. Even if some areas of 2 were probably harder in total than the entirety of
because I say that because even the first encounter with the Grievers, I was surprised how like overwhelming that became very quickly, and that becomes sort of a trend with the Grievers, especially which are like the main enemy of the game. And I will say this, as soon as I saw them and the Lemorne in like one of the earlier trailers, I was like, those are the same guys, but one is Berserk. Something happened, some science experiment or something went wrong, and these monsters are the Lemorne. And I was fucking right. As soon as you get to Icebelt and you start going through it and you're seeing all the Grievers like entreating capsules and all that stuff, and you put it together as it goes on and realize that they are just Lamorne jacked up on the green energy. Yeah, I was just very. It wasn't like the most shocking or the most impressive twist to guess, but it's just cool that I was able to guess it like months in advance. All the way back when, like, we first saw the Grievers and the Lamorne and everything back in like March or whatever, before we even knew this game was coming to Switch 2. But yeah, so Mackenzie, not bad at all. In fact, I think that I genuinely like the guy, and I think he gets a lot of great moments of characterization, and I think him and all the characters, they're like, don't go into it expecting them to be as fleshed out as you would get from a more character-driven game, because it's not a character-driven game. It is still Metroid at the heart of it. But due to that, like, especially if I'm comparing it to another Metroid game, Other M, the fact that they even tried to characterize all of Adam's crew is a joke. I mean, you'll see when you play through the game next year.
Yeah.
But like, but really, only Adam and Anthony, who is the Remember Me guy, those are the only two real characters out of that group. The rest are just cannon fodder. Like, they just are guys who die as the game goes on. Whereas they do a really good job of characterizing each of the troopers that you encounter. They give them kind of their own thing and they are like, there's a bit of a tropey campiness to each of them, but they kind of go a little bit beyond like their most obvious tropes, and it becomes very satisfying by the end to see like how all of their character arcs culminate.
Yeah, I think these are probably just some of the best characters. Like, probably not some. I think these are just the best like characters of this series. And again, it's not a series that focuses on characters, so that's not hard. But I was still really surprised how much I end up actually caring for these people. So, I mean, yeah. Well, like I said, we'll probably get more to each specific character as we go on. But Miles, dude, he is nowhere near the worst character I've like seen all year when it comes to playing newer games.
I've said this before, but it is actually embarrassing how mad people got beforehand. And then the reality of like, who cares? It wasn't a big deal at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, it's just like, I would be embarrassed if I was one of those people. But then again, there are, there's some people that maybe had legitimate grievance, but there's a lot of outrage merchants out there, especially all the people that have cropped up in the wake of a lot of the Switch 2 controversy. There was a lot of those people who literally any stupid thing that happens, they will make a video being like, Nintendo is the greediest, most evil company of all time. And it's like, man, you really shouldn't. You shouldn't really look that deeply into any of the console manufacturers if you think Nintendo is the worst of the three, main console manufacturers. Because some of the unethical shit that like Xbox keeps on doing, that goes beyond selling Mario Kart for $80, which is, I get it. I don't want to fucking pay $80 for Mario Kart either. I didn't.
Me neither.
Right. So like, if I had to, I would not have bought the game. In fact, like, I didn't buy Air Riders because it's $70. Not because I don't think it's a good game. And I asked for it for the holidays, but like, I didn't have. I too was in the position of like, yeah, I can't justify that purchase, so whatever. I just won't play it. Looks cool. Move on.
Right.
So it's just like it feels like it's a lot of personal grievance, and then working backwards from that to construct like a moral narrative of actually, it's okay for me to be this mad or this upset. It's like morally justified for that. The thing that I've seen with Prime 4 that I don't want to harp on too much, but I'll at least acknowledge here, and so that the people that might be in my comments know that they can go fuck themselves, is people being mad about, like, one of the bonuses for the amiibo is that it adds a music player to Soul Valley. And I believe you either unlock that after you beat the game, or like you can unlock it as soon as you use the amiibo. I'm not entirely sure, but because I don't have the amiibos as well. Like, that's another thing where it's like, oh, I couldn't justify buying them. I probably will get them as soon as I have the money. Yeah, we'll talk about it. Yeah. So I had to be a little cheaty sneaker man and be like, all right, I have to look up the Silux ending on YouTube after I beat the game, because I did not realize you needed 100% scans to also unlock that. Yeah. Wow. Because I got 100% items. I was like, all right, that's all you need in Prime 1, 2, and 3 to get the secret endings. Which is, Prime 1 is Dark Samus's hand coming out of the body of the Metroid Prime. And then Prime 2 is Dark Samus reforms out of Phazon in the vacuum of space. And then Prime 3 is Silux's ship is tailing Samus as she leaves Skytown. And then we'll talk about what it is in this game. But yeah, so that whole business where people are like mad that they're like, Nintendo is hiding the music behind a paywall. How can they get any scummier? And it's just like, didn't even think that could possibly be a thing people were mad about. I will say this, like, I do think it's weird that they had like a more ambient, atmospheric soundtrack for Soul Valley.
Yeah.
Where I think like, something that's a little bit more exciting, or like the music that plays when you first get the viola and you're going on the like F-Zero tracks. Like, I could see that being a cool track to play while you're riding around on it. So I think it's a weird choice, but just because I think it's weird doesn't mean I think that they're being unethical by using that soundtrack and then allowing you to have more exciting music if you use an amiibo. Like, that's just such a ridiculous... That is not at all the same thing as like EA or Ubisoft intentionally making their games obnoxious to play, like the sports game, like basketball or whatever. You suck. You just are terrible if you're playing the story mode normally, so you have to buy the stats through microtransactions to like improve your character. And a lot of people will do that just to get through it, just out of convenience. And to me, that kind of nickel and diming is a lot more...
It's a lot worse.
Like, gross than what you get from like, all right, you can buy this toy and it gives you this bonus, thing that's not necessary to completing the game. It's not like you can't... Yeah, I don't know. It would be one thing if it was like, it fills up your fucking green energy meter completely, and then something like that where it just invalidates game design. That would be scummy, but it has nothing to do with that. So also, that's all I wanted to say. Go ahead.
Not to be devil's advocate, but at least for the purchase, you get a cool figure. Like, the amiibos are really cool.
Yeah, you actually do get value, not just a random abstract game thing.
Exactly.
Like, you get a cool figure. So it's just like, I don't know. It's just such a fake outrage that only exists to get clicks on YouTube, like to create another round of discourse on YouTube of people that never cared about any of this stuff and can just keep justifying their own disinterest. And if you don't care, that's fine. It's just going up people's asses in their videos and moralizing about, how could you possibly defend the practices of this company, which is just such a ridiculous statement of, no, I'm not... Like, if I watch Zootopia 2, I'm not defending the practices of Disney, the company.
Yeah.
It's just I wanted to watch this movie, so whatever. That is beside the point. I think that's the only like big controversial thing as far as like people being mad on the internet about it. The NPC stuff and that music thing are like the major ones where I would want to dig into as far as our discussion here, because otherwise I do want to focus on the positives and my own grievance. Like if I have a grievance, then I'll voice it, and I'll give one here. Fury Green is a beautiful place, but because it is so linear, it is kind of a pain to go back and get a lot of those items from like around, and that ends up being an issue with a lot of the zones. They have this very linear, like you're diving deeper into the center of the area progression, and because of that they kind of have to cheat and make it so that when you reach the bottom there's an easy shortcut to get to the top. And I think they did a good job of that, and I don't think that it completely destroys like the Metroid gameplay loop because they have like these more linear levels. But it was one of the few times where there was a problem in Prime 3 that I felt like they could have fixed in Prime 4 by nudging the levels more in the direction of, making it more similar to something like Aegon Wastes or Fendrana Drifts or Chozo Ruins, that more interconnected levels. And they still kept it mostly the same as like Skytown or Brio or the Pirate Homeworld. Like it still feels like the levels still feel like in that same DNA strand. I will say that I think the game does justify these levels. Like I don't think that they are bad designs. The fact that it's more linear than I would want. And I think that by the time that I was, especially at the Great Mine, just the way that level is set up and that experience is set up, I kind of understood the mission statement and really enjoyed that level for, doing that. And I think it would have only worked if it was designed that way. So that's something where, like, I feel like they should fix it or should change it for Prime 5. It's not the end of the world in this game, but it is something that kind of, impacted my decision to put it beneath 1 and 2,
I didn't have much of an issue level design wise. I do think the levels are actually still really fun, but I do agree that I wish there was a bit more exploring to do. Like a lot of the level is the critical path. There isn't too many, like there's almost no chance that you'll miss anything major in your run of these levels. So like Fury Green, I almost didn't. I think I went back through the primary area that wasn't just the camp and the green energy area. Like when it comes to the actual level, I think I revisited that like maybe once in my full playthrough. Now for other levels, I did return to like get other stuff and just explore more. But yeah, I do think the critical path is much more like winding in Prime 4. So because of that, you kind of just see everything you really want to see within that first go.
That's the thing. They had that as the mission statement, as far as like these are going to be more set piece levels, these are more linear levels, and they designed accordingly for that. And I think that is a completely valid way to do it, because there is still parts of the game where you have to backtrack into old areas with new upgrades to open new sections of the area and go there. There's never a moment like with Talon 4 or the Talon Overworld where you go and you have the gravity suit and you go into like a whole new area. I just knocked over my plate. You go to a whole new area, underwater, submerged, that kind of thing. There isn't something like that transformative, but there is still like the satisfying sense of you're not just going, then you do this level, then you do this level, then you do this level. there is a sense of going between the worlds, going into new sections of the area, going through old sections and cleaning up and getting items that you couldn't get before, all of that stuff. So I think that they made that style of level as good as they possibly could.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, where they took, like, even though that's an element of Prime 3 that I would be fine if they just, went back to the way it was when I was a 7-year-old. But I think that they took those, everything else was so good, and in general, the levels are so immaculately designed in a visual sense, in a getting you invested in what you're doing sense. The set pieces, the world building is just all so good that it doesn't detract a ton from my experience, but it is like one of the major flaws that I had by the end of the game.
Right.
And I have one other big one, but that isn't for a while. So we will, but otherwise it is pretty much all, I got the vision. We'll get to it, but even the bike, like, I ended up like, I understand the vision.
Yes.
But yeah, how do you feel about the boss in Fury Green? We kind of...
Ooh, yes.
About this for a while.
I think it was definitely, like, you can tell, like, getting to this boss that they're definitely doing a Flagra thing. Where they're like, okay, we cooked with the Chozo Ruins fight. So, let's do something like that again. I actually do quite like the fight. I actually think it's really fun. It's I like a fight. It's not my favorite fight in the game, but it is still one that I really like it. I do think it's a solid fight.
I think in some ways it's an improvement over Flagra, because Flagra is imposing and iconic, but it's also kind of a puzzle boss where you deal a set amount of damage 4 times to it.
Yeah.
To beat it. Whereas this is more like, you expose its weak point and then it has like a stagger phase where it's attacking you and you have to dodge its attacks and fire at its big Metroid-y core. And that is, I think that that's very fun. It is actually, this is one of the only bosses I've done in hard mode because I'm not very far in my hard mode playthrough because it's really hard. But the fact that it has a significant amount more health means that you have to go through more phases of exposing it and then, hitting all of the like vines with the control beam, which for that case, that's really cool that, I've seen some people say, this game has a lot of Zelda design in it because you're using an item that you got to blah blah blah. You did that with Flagra. You used the bombs that you just got to beat it. Yeah. So this isn't like a new ground or whatever that Metroid Prime is covering. This is just general Nintendo game design. I don't know what to tell you.
Come on.
Yeah, but yeah, so it was very cool, and you get the bombs from it, and the bombs have a secondary function, which I think that's a really cool element of all of this new psychic abilities that are just psychic versions of old items, is that they have a secondary new function. With the bombs, you can hold down the button and they will fly up into the air and become a psychic mote. So you can use it to either hit bomb switches from far away or use them in, puzzles or things that require a psychic mote. So it is a pretty cool design there. I did turn off the hints in the menu just because I don't like to I never liked in the Prime games where the 15th time you're on the spider ball rails, it's like, now you could use the boost ball to get from the thing to the...
I didn't realize you could turn that off. I didn't realize you could turn that off. But I don't need that.
Yeah. So I thought it would turn off because I don't like... I guess this is a minor issue, but it's not as bad as Prime 3, but I just don't like the AI companion person. Like in Prime 3, it was the boring-ass brain being like, all right, now go here, you stupid motherfucker.
Yeah.
So in this case, it would be, Mackenzie or like whoever, in Tokapi in the Ice Belt, just saying like, yeah, check out this place. But you don't have to open the map. They don't like force the map open like fucking Aurora Unit 242 does and make you go like, all right, go here, you goddamn idiot. And like, it's not the end of the world, but like, I just am so used to playing, Prime 1, 2, and 3 that I just know where everything is, or what to do. Like, okay, I got this item, now I can go here, blah, blah, blah. I don't really need the ship hints anymore. So, like, I liked that you could just turn them off in those games. But in 3, because story-wise you have this companion that's helping you, even if you turn them off, it doesn't actually turn them off. So that's the same thing in Prime 4, where it's like, okay, you can turn off the tutorial text of how to use items, but it doesn't actually turn off the character telling you where to go next.
Right.
I will say, though, I don't really consider that like, oh, this is hand-holding or whatever, because that's just been like a standard thing in Metroid games since Fusion and Prime. Is like here's where to go, you had to figure out how to get there. And yeah, so that it doesn't really bother me too much, but it is one of those things where I was like, why didn't turning off the hints turn this off as well?
Yeah.
But
it's weird.
I don't know, but I love getting into a cannon and like being fired off into the desert. That's just like
getting just shot into a cannon is always sick in these games, man.
Yeah. But yeah, so the next area, and this is the area that I think pretty much everybody agrees is the best area in the game, and that's Volt Forge.
It's so
this area is just so fucking sick. I think as soon as we saw it in the like September direct with the where they first revealed like the viola, it just immediately popped out as just supremely fucking cool looking area. It's very similar to Skytown, but it's also it has more of this like high tech feel to it rather than like the steampunk. And it's like this very H.R. Giger kind of architecture and everything. And then also the like dark, stormy nature of it gives it this more oppressive feeling than you got from Skytown. And that was the moment that I was basically like, oh yeah, this game is a masterpiece. Why was I ever worried?
It's definitely the most alien kind of area in the game, where it's the most like, ooh, this is not right. Like something's, this place is weird. I've never seen anything like it. But yeah, no, same here. That's when the game, like Fury Green is really cool, and it's a good first area. Volt Forge is fantastic. It's when I, like you said, it's when I really realized like, oh my god, this game is fucking great, because it's beautiful. It's kind of foreboding. It's just a sick area. And having to go down each of the towers and stuff like that is really fucking sick.
Yeah, that is so cool, because you go down, it's one way. As you go down, you turn on the generator and you go back up, and it's changed. In some cases, you have to fight enemy gauntlets. This again, the difficulty goes way up once you hit this area, because I did die a couple times while playing through this. I even died to the boss of this area, which is like, I think it's probably, it's one of the best boss fights in the whole game for sure. It was after the first two bosses where I was like, yeah, Abrax is pretty good, and then like, oh, okay, Carvax, yeah, that's pretty good. And then you get to the area boss. I know you do have a fight with Silux as well earlier in the area.
Which is also great.
Yes. But Zelios, which is this big like dodecahedron linked together with all this like electromagnetism, is just like an amazing showcase of the game's mechanics, the gyro aim, the new more aggressive dodging. It's just more challenging. There's just so much about that boss that's like you look at it and you're like, how cool can a big floating orb be? And it's as cool as that kind of boss can possibly be. And it's just and even cooler than you expect it. The fact that it like parts like later into the boss fight, it'll blow open a hole in its shield and then shoot a laser out and then swipe it down at you like a blade slash. I was like, God damn, that's sick.
It's so fucking, God.
Yeah.
What a fucking boss. It's so sick.
Yeah, and but to go back to other parts of Volt Forge, you know, the Cybots, they kind of are the overwhelming enemy of this area, and you know, we eventually find out that the Cybots are being controlled by Psylocke, and manipulated by them, which is why they're so fucking aggressive to kill you. And you meet like a lot of different variants of them. They kind of are in general in Volt Forge and in Flare Pool. They're like the main enemies that you're fighting. And yeah, they are scary too. Like there's one moment where you're going down an elevator and you can look out the window and one just like floats up, like the thunder flashes and you can see it. Oh my god,
yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, oh hell yeah, dude, this thing is a weird freaky robot. I'm glad that this and Dread have nailed it as far as weird freaky soulless robots go. You know, they're not as central of a gameplay mechanic as the Emmy, but it did remind me a lot of that. So, excuse me. And then, how do you feel about Viola now that we, and also the Viola suit?
So I think the Viola suit is sick. I love that red, almost like car paint look. Mm-hmm. It's super fucking cool. And I will say in general, I love the new. I love how the suits have like, because the whole thing's about psychic powers. Having like the third eye in like her forehead is always, it's just so cool thematically. But I thought the bike was cool in all the trailers. So I can't wait to get my hands on that. And I'll say, controlling it, you could tell that Retro still had that Mario Kart 7 blood in them. Right. I'll say, dude, I think it fucking controls really well. I actually really, really liked driving it around and stuff. I love I really like the weapons that you have on it. You can Akira slide. You can throw like this almost like boomerang thing around. I think the Viola is a really cool addition. And I think it's a very, very neat thing.
I think it's kind of sad that it's so contextual to this game that we won't get it in future games. You know, it won't be like a consistent thing because, you know, I assume that the story of the Lemorne and everything it's completed by this game. She plants the memory fruit and everything like at the end of the game, so it's like that's sending them off and everything. So it's not like she'll go to another planet and be like, oh well, they're here too and they have a different Viola suit to give you so you can ride around this different open area. Like I think that they still will keep that setup of like having like this big open hub and then like the offshoot areas, which I think is like that is a really good idea. That is a way better way of handling it than Prime 3. Because Prime 3 was just a level select, you know, unfortunately. So if you're going to have like these way bigger, more expansive areas, then doing it through, you have this central hub where it's a lot more simple design-wise, though they are cooking in some places, which we'll talk about soon. But it's just generally a lot more simple and flattened, and then it connects all the other areas. I think that's a good thing to keep. I know some Prime fans are going to be fucking mad at me because they just they should just make it exactly like Metroid Prime 1 again. It's like, look, I love Prime 1. You know, I would be happy if literally every video game was like Prime 1. But, like, it's also fine that Prime 1 is that, you know, unique experience. Just like with Super Metroid, I don't actually care that much how linear Dread is because it's still a great game. It doesn't matter that it's not exactly like Super Metroid where you can bomb jump and fucking wall jump up one wall and fight God or whatever. That freedom to explore, it's not as essential of an element to what makes a Metroidvania or a Metroid game good as I think people like to prattle on about. I actually think that the Hollow Knight games are unique in the perspective that they give you relatively few power-ups and a lot more leeway to do bosses in, a set number of bosses in certain orders. I think that is kind of a unique thing because a lot of indie games that do the Metroidvania thing, they still just follow the progression path of you get this item, you fight this boss, etc. in this order. One of my favorites that I just played this year is Nine Souls. And Nine Souls has a very similar structure to Prime 4, which is why I think I was pretty much immediately forgiving of the fact that it wasn't, like you said, there wasn't a lot of offshoot paths that lead to whole new areas and things like that.
Yeah.
Nine Souls is very much is like, oh, it's a Metroidvania, and you can go and explore and find items with new power-ups and everything, and the game does expect you to do that. But for the most part, it is just these sort of linear gauntlet areas, very Sekiro, with all the parrying and more of the action focus. And that's still a magnificent game. That didn't drag the game down because its design and its mechanics were built around that. It didn't feel like they, it felt like, that is what the game was designed to be. So.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like, that the game wasn't. That's the thing. At the end of the day, I think what makes Prime 4 work so well is that everything feels intentional, and it all just works so fucking well because you knew. Yeah, I do wonder that sometimes what Bandai Namco's Prime 4 would have been
right
because I look, it probably would have been fine, but it probably would have been a total fucking mess, honestly. Especially because I don't see a Prime 4 not by Retro working as well as Retro's Prime 4 is.
Yeah.
Man. But yeah, no, I love the Viola. I love how they use it in Volt 4 specifically. How you travel super fast between the three towers. It's God.
Yeah, that is really cool. I was very delighted by the certification process.
Yeah.
Not just because it's the cool F-Zero maps, but also
with the cool remix.
The music was awesome, and then also the just the chatter from the AI voice or whatever from the Lemorne. I just thought was really funny that they were treating it as if it was a legit license registration thing and not this epic quest that you're on. So it's just that's very funny that these elements. It kind of reminds me of in the Doom games, still finding elements of when the facility that you're exploring was still up and running and very sanitized and corporatized and things like that. So yeah, I like that. First fight with Silux, very good. At first, I didn't realize what to do when he goes Tasmanian Devil mode. But then I remembered the Boost Ball Guardian and laying bombs. And then I also remembered, oh wait, I can just pick up a bomb and throw it at him. And that will... So that was a very nice escalation of oh, what do I do to get him to stop doing this? Oh, I gotta lay bombs and that will stun him. And then, oh wait, I don't even need to lay the bombs down. I can just lay one, grab it with his psychic powers, and then throw it at him.
Dude. I kept forgetting I could do that, but every time I did, I was like, this is fucking cool, dude.
Yeah. So in the great boss music, great boss design, he serves a very similar function to Dark Samus in Prime 2. Which is I don't want to get into it too much, but I guess that's related to my other issue with the game, but also like something that I've learned to like get over and come to peace with is the fact that like we still really don't know that much about him. We learn like who he is by the end of the game, but as far as like who he will grow into be as far as an antagonist and things like that, it feels like this is the first step of that journey. And presumably in like the next game, or if they want to do a whole trilogy, then the next couple games he'll be explored more thoroughly there. I will say this, and I'm a nostalgia poison guy. I love these old games purely for the fact that I played them when I was a child.
Yeah.
I do think it's kind of I've seen a good amount of people online, like after I beat the game and I was looking up some impressions, which were like weird. Like it was a good mix of people that were very hyped on the game, very excited about it, but then also people that were like disappointed in it, or they were more lukewarm on it or whatever. But I did see a lot of people being like, yeah, fucking Silex, he just can't compare to Dark Samus. And I will say this, I'm the biggest Prime fanboy there is. I never really cared that much about Dark Samus. I think she's just a shittier version of SAX from Fusion, because at least SAX had like a thematic reason to exist within that game. That is not to say that she isn't a cool character or cool boss fights. Like that is all very cool. Do not get me wrong, but she is just like aura and hype moments. That is what Dark Samus is. She's not a character. She has no personality. She has literally zero relevance to the story of Prime 2. It has nothing to do with her, which is like the thing that I can give Silex is that at least he is responsible for a lot of the problems that are happening while you're on Veros. Like, he's not responsible for the past issues of the Grievers and everything like that, but he is making things much worse with the Metroids, with the Cybots, with sending out that rain of green energy, which causes things to get more fucked up. And then he is involved with the subplot of the game involving saving all the Federation troopers, in the fact that he exists to be somebody who's like, fuck these guys. I hate them. I hate you. So I'm going to kill you all. You're not going to escape. I'm the ultimate hater.
Yeah, he really is just the ultimate fucking rat bastard hater.
Yes. So it's like very fun that, similar to Prime 2, you get like multiple grudge matches with him throughout the game, and then like one final like let's settle the score match with him at the very end.
Which we will get to, and we'll
right.
over.
But yeah, so next area is Ice Belt, which is honestly like as good as Volt Forge is, and how much I think that it is like peak Metroid and like visuals and just like getting you into the flow of things. Ice Belt is maybe my favorite designed level as far as gameplay, what you're doing, because it involves a lot of exploring and scanning and a lot of environmental storytelling, a lot of the log diaries, sort of piecing the story together as you're descending deeper into this facility. Tokabi, he's my favorite of the troopers. He's just cool as fuck. He's got a sniper gun. He's got a weird religion thing going on. You find him like hanging out in campfires and shit. It's good. It's a good time. He's great.
I think Ice Belt for me is the best area of the game.
Yeah,
I love Ice Belt so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first like big set piece where you get fucking attacked by a shit ton of wolves. Again, this is a very hostile game compared to some of the other games where you can just come in and face tank enemies, and like most of the time you're fighting like 3 or 4 guys at once. But even early on, like, the grievers in the forest, a shit ton of them are coming at you. and then an entire like stampede of these ice wolves are just lunging at you, and it's like pretty cool storytelling because I think like you have to survive for a certain amount of time, and then after a certain point, it requires you to get down to like critical health, and then the set piece will progress. So you're always finishing that. Tokabi helps you out from afar, and then you approach the facility with like 13 health or whatever. It's very stress-inducing, intense, and just in general, like this is kind of the most Resident Evil-y area. It reminded me a lot of Resident Evil 4 with the island,
yes,
like going into like the facility and going in and out of like these areas and like unlocking them and seeing all the like fucked up monsters that are going to be attacking you as soon as you turn on the power or do whatever. Like also similar to Prime 3, like I was talking about with the that laboratory in Skytown. I will say though that the boss in this area is just okay. Like is not bad. And in general, I think the boss fights are quality over quantity compared to the other Prime games. Like Prime 3 had a lot of really cool boss fights, but a lot of them were just like, who the fuck is this guy? Why are we fighting a random guy right now? Whereas Prime 4 really saves it for the end of the area. There's very few boss fights before the end of the area. It's usually like Silex and a couple other things here and there. In Keratos, which gives you the boost ball, is like a cool boss fight, but it's a little bit simplistic after how good Zelios was. And the reward, though, love me the boost ball. So I also really like the fact that to get into Icebelt, you had to go to Flare Pool first, explore a bit, get blown out by Psylocke. You know, he destroys the bridge and everything, and then you gotta like leave the area, come back later. That kind of reminds me of something like Super Metroid, where you have to go into Norfair just a little bit, get the high jump boots, get back out, and then you can go and find Kraid. Just like that nice, intricate, like Metroid-y level design. Like they are finding ways to fulfill that Metroid-ness, even within the more like linear set piece structure that the levels kind of live and die by. But the thing is, I think once you accept the game for what it is and like what it's trying to do, you understand like how brilliantly designed and immersive these levels are. So like, yeah, Icebell I just feel like is sort of, it felt like the game was just like getting better and better. And then I would say it like plateaus a bit with Flare Pool, but then like the Great Mines, which we'll talk about those two in a second here, but that was another like amazing set piece area. But Icebelt. Yeah,
I think for me, like the moment when you turn back on the power and the music kicks in, the song in this fucking area, whenever you get the power back on, amongst like the grievers coming in and just whooping shit, that for me, I was like, this is game of the year. This is game of the year.
Yeah.
But Ice Path, that's my highlight. But I do think Flare Pool is actually really cool too. As you said, Tokabi was your favorite, and I do agree. I really fucking like the two you meet here, Duke and Armstrong.
Yes,
I actually,
they're a great duo. They're very like Duke. Meeting him first is great, because then the reveal of like when you find Armstrong, and she is like a dutiful soldier, but she's also an excited fangirl when she meets Samus. It's just so adorable. It's just so much, and it's so much charm to see like Duke, who is kind of taken on this like kind of pseudo father figure to her, trying to like keep her in line as far as don't make Samus too uncomfortable, okay? Don't embarrass me in front of Samus. She's the coolest, and I don't want you to.
And she's like, let me
nerd
help
out in front of her. Yeah, I love Duke just sort of no selling her excitement over Samus, and those moments of, when she does get to help during that. Yeah, that is definitely like, it's a good coin, like the other side of the coin from Ice Belt, where that was very like, yeah, you had a companion, but he really wasn't. He was injured, so he wasn't helping you throughout the area. So you're just like, oh, you're going through, you're alone, you're descending into this like desiccated facility, very similar to Finchana Drifts, and then but you're turning the power on when you get to the bottom. And the music is amazing. And then, like, yeah, you're getting attacked by all the grievers and everything. And then with Flare Pool, it's like, oh, you're kind of having this experience of like going in to this facility and doing these puzzles and everything with the help of these allies. They are actually pretty helpful, especially during some of the mob fights with Cybots later on, because again, those guys, they are weirdly tough. Like, they actually do. And they wait a long fucking time to give you a super missile in this game. So
at first, I didn't think the super missiles would be in the game. But,
yeah, I mean, me neither. But I was also like kind of fine with it, because the like super versions of the shot things that you can get in the desert. Like, I don't know if you went and explored and all the shrines and everything.
I did do all the shrines.
Yeah. Yep. But especially like, you don't get this until like the end of the game, but the super thunder shot, holy fucking shit, that is extremely busted.
I use that all the time on the final boss. I will say as well, I don't know, like, I think them actually keeping the one beam, and instead, because you only get one upgrade for the beam, and I could be wrong. Is it optional, or do you have to do at least some of the green? You have to do at least some of the green.
Because you would get it automatically if you, like, you can hold off to the end of the game to get it, but you do need to get the memory fruit to like complete the game. So you have to at least like fill up like the green bar to that point. There actually is enough crystals that I think you can get like half of them to fill up the bar completely. And then, of course, like at the end of the game, when you have the power bomb, you can go around and blow up those geodes, and they give you a shit ton.
I get a fucking loads of money and shit. But
because you get it like after you get 25% of them, of the required amounts, you get the beam upgrade, which is like, it's immediately apparent how much more powerful. It even looks, it just moves much faster than the previous beam. And yeah, you can basically just like button mash kill like the jungle grievers. Like, you can just kill them in a few shots. You don't even need to charge beam or anything. And then go ahead.
I think the upgrade is super cool, but that's the one upgrade for your beam. I like how that, as a Prime 2 fan, that they brought back the ammo system and with the new beams, and I think the new shots, and I think the new shots are fucking fun. They are really cool to use.
Yeah, because it's like Prime 1 style beams where you switch between them, and they're like roughly of equivalent power, and they're elemental beams rather than like the dark and light, that kind of gimmick, or something abstract like what the fuck is a Nova. What is the Nova beam in Prime 3? But yeah, I really like that. I like that when you get the shots at first, like, they feel like, okay, they're kind of situational weapons. They're strong against some enemies. They're not great. Then you get like a charged version of them. Okay, they're a little bit more useful as like a replacement for missiles, as far as to just like quickly dispose of enemies. Then you get the super versions of them, and that's when it's like, okay, now the game really just expects you to be like laying waste and devastating a shit ton of enemies.
Yeah.
Which is great for when you get to Great Mine, and the gimmick of that area is like, don't make too much noise or a fucking shit ton of grievers are going to come out of the walls and start attacking you, and then you just have to like you can just toast them. All three of the supercharged versions of them are great, but the fact that the Thundershot, it's very similar to the Wave Buster from Prime 1, but it doesn't suck complete ass because it doesn't like. The problem with the Wave Buster is that the DPS was not equivalent to the amount of missiles that it drained as it went. Like that and the flamethrower just kind of sucked because they just took way more missiles to use than it was, necessary for the amount of damage that they doled out. Whereas like keeping it completely to ammo and not requiring missiles, just like, okay, 30 ammo is a lot, but for the amount of damage and like crowd control that you're doing with that weapon, it's fine. Like it's okay. And then like you said, it's very helpful during the final boss because you're targeting like multiple heads, multiple different targets. It was also helpful against the boss. Oh, we fucking skipped over the boss in Flare Pool.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, excuse me, Phaneros, which is this big. This is very similar to a boss in Other M, which you also fight in a fire area. And I was like, this is when I started to be like, this game is kind of like a good version of Other M. Like that's what it reminds me of. It's a different vibe in some cases, with the fact that it's like, okay, we're focusing on the Federation stuff and these troopers and more of that kind of story, and we have kind of science experiment gone wrong on the planet, which is also similar to what the battleship in Other M is like. But yeah, that boss is really cool. It and the one in Soul Valley are the only bosses that you have to fight using Viola. But I feel like they did a really good job like exploring that.
Yeah.
I will say this, like, at first I was disappointed when you get the suit upgrade and it, like, barely changes the Viola suit. It just gives it, like, the crystals are, like, on the legs and on the shoulders and everything, and the gem on your forehead has a slightly different color, and I was like, oh, that's it? That's kind of lame. That's like the fucking shoulder pads you get in Prime 3.
Yeah.
But, like, then at the end of the game when you get the legacy suit, I was like, here we go. This is the I get you now.
Sick. It's so good.
Yeah, it is like, it's very similar to the light suit in the fact that it has like this it's this very bright color, but it has like these gold accents to it and also this glowing blue aura. It's a very cool design and visuals and everything, and I would love if they made a figure of that at some point. But,
yes,
and
I love its like exclusive ability where it gives you like a fucking super armor.
Yeah,
I wish I got to use that more, but yeah, it's very dope.
Yeah, it is sad that you don't really get to use it like in the Great Mines, because you pretty much need the power bombs to get enough, of the green crystals to get the suit. But yeah, it is super cool. And yeah, that boss, you get the grapple beam in this game is just like so much better than it was in the other Prime games. You can like cling to walls too if there's grapple points on there. Yeah, just like I love all the different the layered abilities that you get with each of the psychic versions of old abilities. So I think my favorite is probably Spider Ball, where you can do the like Mario Galaxy, like cling onto a thing and then fling yourself in one direction. Like that's very good. Incorporating that into Spider Ball puzzles, always love that shit. So very happy to see that.
Yeah, I was surprised at how many powers from Prime 1 come back, like the Spider Ball, the Super Missile, the Boost Ball, which I thought was obvious, but still, like, you can definitely tell that, they got little bits from every single Prime game and combined them all in. It's like a greatest hits almost.
in a ways, like this game is like the true sequel to Prime 3, but also it does try to bring in all of those elements that worked from Prime 1 and 2 into the game. Give it like, oh, it's one world, it's one coherent story that's being told. I do like that each area has different styles of delivering the lore, though, because usually in Metroid games, it's like, oh, all the lore is one thing. You know, it's like a wall tablet that you scan or whatever. But you know, Fury Green has these like stones with writing on them. Ice Belt has these diary logs that you scan through, and then like yeah, so it's just like the different ways of doling out the lore and the exposition and everything that I really appreciate, as well as for finding those. There's like the statues that you can find in the desert, where the Lemorne guy just tells you about, like, all right, this area is like this, well, and he like talks about, I like there's a lot of world building that goes into Veros. The fact that there's like multiple eras. There's the machine era, and then the psychic era, and then the great tragedy. Just like I love that shit. Just yeah, it gives it feels like a very fully formed world, and it makes it so that the Great Mind feels like a perfect kind of final area that you're exploring, because it's the culmination of everything that the game has been, like with the troopers as well as with the Lemorne. You know, you're sort of experiencing like the ultimate result of the folly of their experiments with this place that's just swarming with these horrible monsters. And the deeper you go, the more fucked up they get, until you get to that. I was very happy that they just straight up called it the Omega Griever. Big shout out to the Omega Pirate from...
Oh my god. Dude, I pogged my balls off with that reveal.
And that might be my second favorite boss fight of the game. Like the first is the final boss, but the second favorite, you know, is the Omega Graver, because it is like, this thing is one of those bosses that I love where it gets harder as it goes on. Its body just becomes more invincible, and its weak points become fewer and far between. Just like a very cool boss that feels like a fair, like one-on-one showdown with this big, horrible monster. You know, not too gimmicky, not too puzzly, like some Prime bosses can be. So, yeah, I just think that this thing was super sick. I liked the narrative of the Great Minds, where you're going deeper and like you keep on like losing members as you keep going.
It's so cool. I actually did think for a second, like, oh my god, they actually gonna fucking like
right
murk these guys?
I thought that, and then I was like, oh, of course not. They would never do that. And then at the end of the game, I was like, oh well.
Oh my god, yeah. It's like, god damn it.
Never mind. But yeah, the great moment of acting from Samus, who is silent throughout the whole game, which I don't care about. I don't, like, whatever. That's just how Samus is.
Look, we can complain about it with Dead Space.
Right, yeah. But when Armstrong is doing the Resident Evil 4, like, you know, combine thing, and you're protecting her, and then, like, she asks you to go ahead, and then says, like, oh, it's been an honor fighting with you, and Samus, like, shakes her head in grief and runs. She's, like, the one that she's the most distraught over, like, letting down and you know, dying and everything, because she knows how much of an influence she has on that, like, not just from a like, oh, she's a cool bounty hunter level, but from like a gender level, you know, like, oh, another woman, you know, warrior looks up to me, kind of idolizes me because of you know, all of the stuff that I've done throughout the past games. So I feel like I'm letting her down by the fact that she has to save me. I'm not strong enough. And that's a great little moment, and like great storytelling that works, like, because you care, you know, and like it wouldn't work. Like, I feel like it works specifically because Armstrong is introduced as such a like a more goofy, lighthearted a nerdier character, similar to like Mackenzie. Like his sacrifice at the end of the game wouldn't be impactful if he wasn't kind of a fucking dweeb when you first meet him, and then he sort of like, I think he's cool because it's clear that he sucks in combat. He's kind of a wimp, but he's a very talented mechanic. And I just love characters that are really skilled at something that's kind of orthogonal to the main trait of like power or whatever that's valued in whatever game or series or story or whatever. So yeah, how do you feel about the Great Minds? I've been talking for a while.
I think the Great Minds it's a great break because it's definitely the more. I love the layout of it, and it's definitely the most almost hostile feeling area, but getting to meet the robot fella, like returning to Ice Belt before it, and then going into it and having all your crew come in and have them kind of almost seemingly picked off one by one. And I'll say as well, you've played Titanfall 2, right?
Yes.
Having the moment where View fucking is like getting a morph ball and literally pull a thing where like BT like fucking throws you. I was like, actually, I was always saying to myself, please make me turn into morph ball. Please make me turn into morph ball. And it's like, get into morph ball. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
And my favorite, I'll say, I love some of the touches this game has gameplay mechanics, especially here. I love how you are actively like told not to use missiles when possible because they just spawn more. Because the Grievers like hear that shit and just come out the walls. It's such a good level at making you feel almost oppressed by how many fucking enemies are just surrounding you constantly. And getting to the end and fighting the Omega, it's thematically, in terms of just a full level on its own, arguably the best in terms of telling its story within it. It's such a good fucking like final like major area. It's so good.
Yeah, especially because like partway through you get the super missile and you have to use it to progress, so you basically have to trigger a shit ton of enemies coming at you because of that. So just very well done. But I think like we haven't really talked too much about the desert Soul Valley, kind of the most controversial part of the game. Hot take, I think it's pretty good. Like, I won't say that it's the best open world, open zone, whatever thing that I've ever played in any video game.
Nah.
But it reminded me a lot of, a couple other, like, sort of open world games that I played that are more of a small scale. Stuff like The Pathless or Solar Ash, things like that, where it's just like, movement is just fun. Like, you almost don't even care what you're doing in that world. You're just, like, going around and doing shit because you just like riding around on the bike. And then there's there's probably, like, 12 or 15, like, optional areas. Or not optional, but just, like, points of interest areas that you can go to with the different shrines as well as the different, like, Galactic Federation outposts that were also transported there. And there's little environmental puzzles inside the shrines and at the Federation bases. There's there's items to find across the desert. There's all the encounters with Tokabi that you can do, which is great because I love him. And then like all those like powerbomb geodes. So the game, it actually does have, even the shrines, like they have a little bit of a gated progression to it. It's weird. This is an open area, but there is a progression to it. It like opens up the more items you get and the more that you progress through the game. So because of that, I started to realize, I was like, this is like a pretty good, for what it is, even though it's very different from what we expect from a Metroid level, it has this Metroid DNA deep in it of slowly peeling back and uncovering this bigger and bigger world, that it just feels like it gets better as you play. And I think because I was already like predisposed to like it, I think deserts are pretty cool. I think the bike is badass, everything like that. I didn't have any problem at the end when you have to collect, like you have to fill up the energy meter to get the final suit and to get the fruit and everything. Because I've seen some people be like, "Oh, this is the worst collectathon quest in the entire fucking franchise." But you can start doing that. You know, well, first of all, the mech parts, that's really the collectathon quest. Excuse me. But you can start collecting the green crystals as soon as you get the viola.
Exactly.
And while
even before that, because you can shoot with missiles.
Yeah. And you know, it isn't until there's a cutscene where Silex sends out the like green rain, and it causes all the grievers in the desert and like some of the animals to like start glowing green, which is right before you go to Icebelt for the first time. After that point, a shit ton more crystals grow in the desert. So like then you can really start going ham and collecting them. And like on my second playthrough, because I knew like, oh, I can get a beam upgrade early if I just comb through the desert and get the crystals. Like, yeah, you can get that beam upgrade before going to Icebelt. And then like I think you can get all three of the other, or you can get the other two upgrades besides the final suit before the end of the game as well, just by being a little bit of due diligence. And I promise you, it's not that much time that you're putting into it. Like, you're not like, people are like, oh, I spent like 2 hours or whatever. It's like, if you just spend like 20 minutes between major story points, maybe like 15 minutes between, you know, you finish an area, you're out in the desert, go and collect some stuff, go ride around, see what you can find. That's kind of the intended play pattern. And you do that, you kind of naturally get to the point where by the end of the game, you don't need to collect that much to, you know, to get to the end game. So, yeah, I just don't agree that that's, you know, a huge downside to the game or a thing that like drags it down. I think that the desert in general is pretty cool, and I think it just kind of got better as I played. It went from like cautiously like, okay, this isn't that bad, to, oh, I actually really enjoy this, and would like to see a version of this appear in later games. How do you feel?
I will say that I like Soul Valley. I think it's fun. I wish there were maybe like 1 or 2 more shrines, because it's basically split out, almost laid out in terms of like space and stuff, like a Zelda, like Hyrule in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's only about 5 minutes to get from one end to the other, there's like 6 shrines in the entire game, and
yeah, because they just give you the upgrades to the shops.
Yeah, I wish, I totally get that for that reason, but I wish there was a little bit more to do. And I will say, people talking about how I've heard some people say that it's like really annoying and stuff, that like this end game thing. I will say personally, I had the opposite thing. This is like the easiest end game hunt in the entire series.
Yeah.
It's such an easy, because you can find all the parts for it in Soul Valley with no real harm. Like, I found all of them well before I even knew how to like transport them and where to or whatever. Yeah. And then the other 2 are within Flame Pool, which you have to get the super missiles to get, and actually unlocks a pretty cool fight to do. And then there's like 1 more, and there's four in the main area of Soul Valley. There's 1 in Flare Pool, which, like you said, you have to get to, you have to get the super missiles. And then there's 1 that's right outside of Icebelt. So like, not like still in Soul Valley, but not in like the main section of it. So like, yeah, that's the, whereas like, I think only 2 of them require you to have beaten Great Minds, though, which is the one that requires a power bomb to blow up, and then you do the boss fight which is just, like I said, the Resident Evil 4 boss fight. And then the one where you need the super missiles to go through like the new area in Flare Pool, which is like, I really like that area too, revisiting it, because since it blew up and since you don't have like companions with you when you revisit it, it just has a different vibe to it. Oh yeah.
You have to like explore it kind of in a different way than you
It's
did before. I just always like when Metroid levels evolve
I was gonna
as you
say
play through the game.
it's almost like going back to the sunken spaceship in Prime One.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it very smart that they did it that way, and I did like exploring it though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish the end game hunt was a little bit harder. But truthfully, I mean like I um I didn't really mind either way because at that point I was like I'm really excited, I'm really loving the game, but also I know deep down like okay, how's this end? Like
Mm.
we got these keys, we got these parts. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I agree with you that I think like they definitely could have populated the desert more with stuff to do and with you know like even shrines that are just like okay you get a missile or an energy tank or something like that, just like the fact that it's all business and you do find missiles and things in the shrines, but like yeah, I would have preferred if they had like a little bit more to do there, and then like yeah, the end game quest was like pretty painless for me because I just marked the location of all the. I mean, they
Yeah,
mark it already on the map for all the, you know, the Beck parts. But like when I saw those geodes and scanned them and were like, I realized, oh, you need the power bombs to blow them up. I just marked each of them that I found when I was driving around on the map because I knew that would fast track me to you know, getting the like the required amount of green crystals, and I was correct. I just after beating the Great Mine, I just drove around for like 10 minutes or whatever and bombed all those, and then went back and got the suit. Um, but yeah, if I guess like here is my other big complaint, and that's the way that the end game plays out. Uh, Not necessarily on a gameplay level, but on a like story potential level. I feel like it's a missed opportunity, just because I always prefer it in a Metroid game when the final area is more than just a final boss arena, which is
yeah,
what Chrono Tower is. So that's similar to like Prime 1 and 2, where the Impact Crater, the Sky Temple are just boss arenas. There's like barely any level design to them. Prime 3, I think, nailed it. Phase, awesome final area. You
phenomenal.
know, bad final boss, but you know, good final area. This has a great boss fight. Silux, the final fight with him is awesome. He is doing a lot of crazy ass shit. He's summoning nanomachines. He's got like fucking 4 dragon heads coming off of him. It's supremely badass. And you know, the game it gets pretty hectic. Like I died a couple times because not only do you have to manage your own health, but you got to manage the health of the other troopers. And thankfully, they do a pretty good job of like staying out of the way. But especially when you get to the final phase of the like the first half where he has the thunder powers,
Yeah,
those motherfuckers love standing directly in the path of those lightning bolts. So that's really the part where you got to be on your A game and just like reviving all of the troops. I could definitely see that being like frustrating to some people because people just don't like having to babysit AI companions. But I found them more helpful than harmful during that fight because it would be like, oh, they do the last bit of damage to destroy one of the tentacles. Um, but overall, in general, I kind of feel like the Omega Griever was a better story final boss. It fills the same role as like the Emperor Ing or something like that, where it's the
yeah,
culmination of the problems that have been created on this planet, and it's like the final test of your skills. Whereas Silux, it's a little bit disconnected from that because he is causing issues in the game, but it's very similar, like I said, to Dark Samus in Prime 2, where yeah, he'll like destroy a bridge or he'll, you know, do a thing here or there, and you have like your final grudge match. but he's not really invested in the planet story. Um, so he ends up just being like, oh, he's the final thing you got to fight in order to get home. You got to protect your boys, and he's trying to kill everybody. And I think that it's that fight, both phases of it are awesome, especially the second phase where you just have that like the third rematch on that same scale with him, and he like takes you to the fucking Sephiroth dimension from Final Fantasy Remake. Like,
oh
it's
my
just
God.
like, I'm like, what the fuck? I literally was like, what the fuck out loud when I was playing the game, and very hyped about that. But yeah, just on like a kind of a nitpicky perspective, I guess after like Metroid Dread, I felt did a pretty good job of making it so that like, okay, yeah, the X parasites are the main issue that you're dealing with through the game, but Ravenbeak has been at the root of all of the issues that are going on this planet. Like, he attracted you there. He's, doing this all for like his own selfish purpose. So he feels like an appropriate final boss, even if he's not an X parasite and it's not related to that. You do fight him in a cutscene battle as an X parasite. You just vaporize him with the Kamehameha.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, so that's like, and then I kind of realized when I beat the game that this is not the end of Sylux. This isn't like, he isn't just a one and done protagonist. So I became like, okay, like at first I was like, why didn't they tie in him into the story more clearly or more overtly? And then I kind of realized it's like, oh, his role isn't really to be like the main villain of this game. It's to be the main villain of the whole like next set of games, and for this to be like,
I had that feeling, and it basically confirms that with the secret movie that you unlock either with 100% or like me, the amiibo. But but yeah, no, I do agree that like, I was surprised at some of the changes that this game does. Like, for example, like, I get it thematically, but having Sylux, you only fight him like twice.
Which is the same with Dark Samus. Like, you fight her twice throughohout the game.
But and the Sylux battle is amazing, like phenomenal. But I was also really surprised looking back. I'm like, outside of the intro, there's like no space pirates. There's no Metroids.
Yeah, not really, because they all fuse with the bosses. But it's like, what? Like, I would have even thought, oh, maybe have a second phase to the Omega Griefer where Sylux shows up, forces it to fuse with one of the Metroids. Because we see a Metroid fuse with the first boss, and then all the other bosses that we encounter have already been fused with a Metroid before we encounter them. So I figured that was setting up like, okay, by the end of the game, though, we're going to have to deal with that. So like, yeah, like, it's those little things that I feel like it's just weird. It makes me feel like they sort of designed this game story-wise to be like, yeah, the beginning of a saga, and these are elements that will be explored later on. But right now, this game is about Viros and the Lemorn and your relationship with these troopers that are stuck on this planet. And I think that they tie those stories together very well by the end. Because by the end it becomes clear that like, you were supposed to be this chosen one that came to the planet and saved everybody, but you showed up way too late. The whole planet is just dead. The person that was supposed to meet you and guide you through it is dead. You're just finding his his last diary entries basically. And Samus has this intense sense of guilt because she's always a survivor in these situations. Remember in Prime 1, the game ends with her like contemplating her entire life as she looks at the like destroyed Chozo temple. This is like, this is her people. She came too late. She failed to protect the planet from, all the people dying, but she at least saved the life that still existed on it. And with Viros, you couldn't even do that. You have to hope that you can plant that seed of legacy on a different planet, and those memories can continue to live on that way. And that loops in perfectly with the sacrifice that all the troopers make to hold back Silex. And of course, they're not shown to have died, but from Samus's perspective and from us, the player's perspective, we have no reason to assume that Silex didn't. I mean, Silex can summon like black holes and shit during his fight.
No,
so I assume he can beat everybody's ass. They're all normal guys. They're not Samus. So, even if they end up surviving, like as far as we know, they are dead. Samus assumes that they're dead, and Tokabi like throwing his arrowhead to her. She catches it, and then at the end when she like plants the fruit and the tree grows, and she puts it on there as like a memento for them, for her time of like, in her mind, these people in the present and those people in the past were both people that she failed to save, but she can still respect them in their legacy through this final act. And yeah, I think that was like a very beautiful ending in a way to, like I said, kind of make both of those storylines come together. It's just Silex that is the hanging thread. And that is like, there is a part of me that was very disappointed by the fact that they set him up for so fucking long, for years, and then it's still like, you're still not giving us like the full blowout for Silex. We're still like, we get his backstory, which is cool, and we kind of learn that he's just sort of a piece of shit. Like he's just a dude who got too big for his britches, and then the things went horribly wrong, and Samus came in to save him, and he feels like angry and judgmental towards her and the Federation for coming in too late, basically.
Which I think is a super cool scene. Like I think that's a really good way of setting up. I didn't feel maybe I'm just silly. I didn't feel too disappointed by it, especially because I know.
Sure.
Maybe it's just because I know deep down that I've got many friends who are Shenmue fans, and I know I could have it way, way, way worse. But I don't know, like knowing that it
didn't kill the game, but it was just like it was like one of those things where it's like, oh man, so much of this fight is so good. The actual ending, like the conclusion of the story with the characters is good. It's just the Silex element of like, these motherfuckers are really gonna make me wait another game, potentially two, to get like that final. It's just like funny because before Silex, or before the game came out, a lot of people were making jokes about him being like potential man, just being like, oh, he could be cool, but we have to see. And then the game, I will say, like, I disagree with the fact that he didn't show any potential, because clearly he's got like a lot of shit going on with his power set and everything. But I would say, like, when I first beat the game, I was left with a satisfying conclusion, but also this like dissatisfied feeling of like, why did they start the game with Silex and with the Metroids and then not really, it didn't like feel conclusive. It didn't feel like self-contained or anything like that. So like, I would say like that, and sort of the, like I said before, like the level design and things like that are the two big issues that I have with the game overall, that kind of bring it down a few notches and make it so that it's like a little bit in the middle of my Metroid ranking. Now, keep in mind, this is a Metroid channel. This is my favorite series of all time. All of these games are masterpieces and my beloved babies in my eyes, except for other Federation Force and Hunters. But everybody else, even you, Metroid on the NES, you get in here, you get in the hug pile. So it still is extremely high in my estimation, and it's still probably, as far as like the Switch 2 launch year, my favorite game that has come out of the Switch 2 launch.
For sure.
Even over Bonanza, which, trust me, I love Bonanza, but I am more of a Metroid fan than I am a Donkey Kong fan by far. But like, I do think it's worth it to raise these complaints. but it's also worth it to be like, oh, they'll kind of fade over time and over playthroughs. Just because like the more I'll play the game, the more familiar it will become, and the more like I'll sort of be able to, like, any of the differences or any of those points of contention that people have, like the characters or the Soul Valley or the linear levels, sort of just fade into the background of like, this is just what Prime 4 is, you know? So I no longer have to worry about what it could be or what I want from it or what it needs to be. It is what it is, and, you know, I loved what it was. And
Absolutely.
I think that it is a worthy sequel to Prime 3. I think it's a worthy entry in the series. I had a blast playing it. It took me like 2.5 days, basically, to beat it, and I'm already replaying it. So, man.
What a
good
game.
Stuff.
What a game.
But yeah, okay. Fuck, we've been going on for a while. So it's been 2 hours. So I think that we can wrap this up. Like you said, I think this next year, in 2026, we're going to do more of these podcast style discussions where we're talking about the 2D Metroid games instead of the Prime ones. But that also includes Other M, because that's like, I just count that as a 2D.
Where else?
yeah, exactly. And that is a prequel to Fusion, so it is still related to all the 2D games. But I don't know. We'll be doing that. I don't know when we're going to do that. I'll probably start, because I have this whole week off. I took it off just in case I needed a week to beat Prime 4, but of course I didn't. I beat it on fucking Saturday.
Yeah.
But since I have that time, I can, take the time to record all of the footage of something. I can do a playthrough of Metroid on the NES and Metroid 2 and stuff like that. Things that I can beat in like one sitting, and record footage for those. Like I said, I want to record all of my own footage for all these games and just use them for my channel. So, but yeah, that will be fun when we get to it. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it'll happen sometime next year. So
definitely won't be 8 years.
Maybe if we're lucky, we'll also get Metroid 6 next year, which is like a huge possibility because Dread was 2021. So
yeah, I know they did that other game, but what else is Mercury Steam?
Yeah,
they could have only been doing Blades of Fire.
Here's my conspiracy theory. They said that they were making 2 games after Metroid Dread, and one of them was Blades of Fire, and the other one they're like, we can't say because the NDA. And I just think it's gotta be. There's like, what else could they be making?
There's no way Mercury Steam has enough clout to do other shit. Like,
yeah, like they did Castlevania at one point, but like,
for this Castlevania, that'd be pretty hype.
Yeah,
I would be interested.
I mean, that'd be
maybe
if they made a third Lords of Shadow game. Why not?
Fuck it.
Yeah, but all right. Why don't you plug yourself where people can find you?
So, yep. As of so I mentioned on the Fairy Force video, but I officially now have a review show where I review all Switch and Switch 2 stuff. I'm going to be, hopefully by the time this goes up, have my review personally out of Metroid Prime 4. So if you want to hear me babble with less spoilers and more just overall gassing, check me out on Switch Point. That's basically my only thing. I still haven't, returned to Twitter or Blue Sky or anything like that. So check out my channel. Go from there. And, yeah.
All right. You can find me at twitter.com/WazRanger. That's WAZP Ranger. Mostly stream of consciousness stuff, but I do post about videos I'm making, podcasts I'm doing. Also Blue Sky, of course. And I actually don't really post much about videos on Twitter anymore just because I hate Twitter. But so yeah, Blue Sky, check me out there. And then my Patreon is It's Only Magic. I post Metroid videos like a couple days early. I have my cartoon videos that I do. I have my podcast on that channel, which is Cartoon Buffoons. Me and my friend Morgan are going through every single Cartoon Network show in order.
I've been on there a few times.
Yeah, you've been on there a few times. We just got done with all the CN Real stuff and been doing like a lot of the holiday like rigmarole. But next year we're gonna come back strong with like, we're hitting that like Adventure Time and regular show era where Cartoon Network really like came back to life. So if you're excited for that, check that out. As far as this channel, Planet Zebez, keep fucking checking it out because I got a video right now about side modes in Metroid games. I got one that I'm writing about water levels. I got 2 big scripts for a boss ranking of all the 2D Metroid games and an item tier list for all the
God damn.
All of the games, which that's one of those things where I've just been working on it since like last year, and every so often I come back to it and like type out a couple paragraphs of like the screw attackers, blah blah blah. So it's good time. It's very funny. I'm very proud of this channel. It's a little bit janky and shitty, but it's got a lot of heart, which, what else could you want? But all right,
exactly.
We're done. Until Prime 5 comes out, this is the last Hunters in Prime. So thank you so much for listening, and I will see you on the next mission, Hunter.
See ya, gamers.